Can they make trouble? Yeah, they can make trouble. But they're broke. They have no money. You know, Iran is broke, totally broke. And they're not paying their soldiers. They have inflation of 300% as of last night. I heard 309%.
So I'm not sure what he's talking about. Donald Trump seems to be assured that the policy that the United States is pursuing, this newly rebooted economic pressure campaign against Iran, is going to work, is going to put pressure on Iran. A lot of what he said in that statement in the cold open was just not accurate as far as I know. There's no evidence whatsoever that the soldiers and police in Iran aren't being paid. And, you know, there's journalists that go in and out of Iran still. There's people who go in and out of Iran still. Occasionally, even a CNN team will go in and out of Iran. And if police weren't being paid and there was chaos on the street and the country was experiencing some kind of systemic collapse, you would have some kind of tangible evidence of that. I'm an Iran watcher and I follow this stuff and I talk to all sorts of people and see all sorts of sources about what's going on in the country. There's literally zero evidence that the ongoing economic malaise of the country has gotten so bad that police and soldiers are not being paid. And there's also, I don't know where he got this 300% inflation, 309% inflation. Yes, Iran is suffering from very bad inflation, much of it caused by U.S. sanctions and U.S. economic strategies and financial strategies to hurt Iran, but also contributed to by the country's own mismanagement. For example, its banking system is totally corrupt and they give loans to favored companies and Revolutionary Guard connected business people. And so I don't think that they help their own cause. But in any case, from what I've seen, and there's a friend of the show, Brett Erickson, who's a really good analyst, and he's been on the Badlands a couple times, and he has essentially said that inflation, while bad, has been slowing. The rate of increase of inflation has been slowing down in the last few months. And as for Iran not having any cash, that is just simply not true. First of all, Iran has other channels to send oil and other energy out, at least small amounts of it, because it has so many land borders and has the Caspian Sea and so on. There are other ways that it can get energy out of the country. But in addition to that, as Brett Erickson and others have pointed out, Iran managed to rush out a lot of oil and energy supplies after the blockade was lifted during that period of the Memorandum of Understanding, and it stands to still profit from those ships that are out to sea at this point, and they will sell their goods, and that money will go back to Iran, either in cryptocurrency or in Chinese renminbi, in Chinese currency, and they will be able to spend it on stuff. The country's not going to prosper. It's not going to do amazing things, although it did just recently open its first geothermal power plant, which was a good accomplishment, which was a significant accomplishment for a country under these sanctions. And these sanctions, they've been on the country for just decades. This is nothing new for the country. And this is something that they've been dealing with, the government has been dealing with for a long time. So this economic pressure strategy, if that's what he wants, in lieu of diplomacy and in lieu of war, it's been tried before. It's failed before. I think that Clinton tried it in earnest. I think that to some extent, even Reagan tried it. The country was very isolated, didn't have even money at that time during the 80s. Definitely the George Bush tried it into the 2000s, and then Obama kicked that up and increased it. And then Trump himself in 2018 initiated the maximum pressure campaign. And it was supposed to topple the regime. It didn't topple the regime. It didn't do anything except hurt the middle class of the country. And then now you've got this blockade on the country, and it's going to hurt Iran. It's definitely going to hurt the country. It's going to hurt the middle class. It's going to hurt the poor, but it's very unlikely to translate into any kind of political strategic gains for the United States, because the government doesn't have to really answer to the people in the same way a Western democracy does. So the strategy is not going to work, in my estimation. I am Borzou Daragahi. This is Badlands. You can subscribe at borzou.substack.com. You can also find my podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on YouTube. So the problem now is that Trump is trying to find a strategy to paper over the fact that he lost the war. And his dilemma, you don't really even have to trust a, journalist, MSM podcaster, whatever you want to call me, like some pinko East Coast educated, what liberal commie, I like Zohran Mamdani, whatever you want to label me. You can actually just listen to the king of kings of the neocons, John Podhoretz, who here just displays a significant amount of honesty.
His poll numbers stink. The war's poll numbers stink. The war's poll numbers are starting to stink among Republicans. His numbers on immigration are bad. His numbers everywhere are bad. And in the end, this is all going to be the fault of refusing to do the right things to win the war. Losing is the end of everything. Like, this is... I literally don't know what he goes and tells the American people. This war ends with Iran, with the acceptance that Iran has some sway or control over the Strait of Hormuz. The war, we lost the war.
So, I disagree with everything this guy stands for, but I give him major credit for being at least honest and candid about the situation right now. And of course, what his alternative to it is that the United States should go in and bomb the hell out of Iran and let the chips fall where they may. If the global energy supplies in Saudi Arabia and Qatar and United Arab Emirates get destroyed in the process by Iran, hey, that's just the cost we have to pay for freedom. So I don't agree with him there, but I got to hand it to him for being honest about the dilemma that the neoconservatives and Trump faces. And the problem with Trump is that I think that he's either just a liar or surrounded by liars, because much of the information that he is spewing out is just doesn't really have any connection to reality.
But for 50 years, they've been the bully of the Middle East. What they've done is terrible. They've killed hundreds of thousands of people. They've killed people. They've wounded and maimed people with the legs, the arms. With the roadside bomb is their bomb. They're very proud of it. And now they're paying a price.
Okay, so none of that is really true. Iran has not killed hundreds of thousands of people. That's just absurd. You know who has killed hundreds of thousands of people, according to publications, medical publications like Lancet? The United States, with its campaigns of sanctions against a country like Iraq, and then the war in Iraq, there was an estimate by the Lancet, by that journal, that 1 million lives were lost as a result of the U.S. actions against Iraq. And so that's who killed hundreds of thousands of people. The Iranian regime in the recent protests killed maybe 3,000 to 7,000 people, maybe a little bit more than that, who knows? But they did not kill hundreds of thousands of people. So that's just complete bullshit. So whoever is advising him on that is a liar, or he's just talking out of his ass.
The mines, we've mine swept the entire strait, as you probably maybe heard, maybe you didn't hear, but we control the strait 100%.
So yeah, there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever from any independent reporting that the mines that were set by the Iranians in the main channels of the Strait of Hormuz have been removed. That would be a big breaking story if that were true. And it's really a sign of the times that more media didn't immediately fact check that claim, because it's clearly a very significant claim to make. And if he's lying about that, if he's giving out disinformation about that the mines have been cleared from the Strait of Hormuz, he's either being lied to by his aides and being just fed a lot of bullshit, or he is just giving lots of bullshit. In either case, this is a very significant thing to lie about. If in fact it's true that the United States managed to clear the mines with its non-existent minesweepers that it decommissioned under Pete Hegseth and the Trump administration, that would be a huge news story. And of course, this claim that the United States control the Strait of Hormuz, as I mentioned in the podcast yesterday, yes, the United States has been smuggling through this very complex operation. It emerges oil out of the Strait of Hormuz, and it has been moving oil from ship to ship to ship, from larger ships to smaller ships to larger ships, etc., to get it through this Omani channel, turning off the digital trackers and so on. This is a very labor-intensive, very high-risk enterprise to get that oil out. But that I wouldn't call that controlling the Strait of Hormuz. As a matter of fact, there's regular attacks on the vessels that are trying to get out of the Strait of Hormuz. And then there's the issue of ships coming into the Strait of Hormuz. Yes, they've been getting a certain amount of oil, maybe a few million barrels of oil a day, and there's disputes as to how much out of the Strait of Hormuz. But what about getting those ships back in? A little bit more complicated. So the crisis is not resolved. The problem is not resolved. And the Iranians know this. And Donald Trump should know this. And the journalists who are covering this issue uncritically should definitely know this and note this. Donald Trump is confused. He doesn't know what to do about this. I don't blame him. He got himself into a trap. He fell into a trap, really, that was set for him by others, by Israel and the neocons. And that trap, it began not in February. Really, it began in June of 2025 when he was lured into attacking Iran, crossing that red line of launching direct attacks on the Iranian mainland for the first time. And what that did was trigger a series of events in which no one had eyes anymore on those Iranian nuclear sites. And that created a crisis. That attack that some people lauded and some people praised, and some like shills and even liberals. There's a group of people who want to be neocons. They want to join in this effort against Iran, but they know how stupid it is. So they kind of stand and hover on the sidelines. These were the morons who said, oh, I was in favor of the June attacks, but I had questions about the February attacks. Because the June attacks caused the February attacks. There's seriously no doubt about that created the crisis that led to the February war. So I think that you should be very careful when you're listening to people who are like saying that, oh, I wish he had just stopped in June. There was no stopping in June, because once you target those nuclear sites, once you get Iran to kick those inspectors out at that point, once you don't have eyes and cameras anymore on Iran's nuclear facilities, then you have to basically do something about it. And that was the trap. That was the trap that was set for him by Israel and the neocons. And he stupidly fell right into it. And you can just hear and see how uncomfortable he is with the situation. This motherfucker is squirming. Listen to this.
Said this last round of talks was Iran's last chance before decapitation. So what now? What comes next?
You'll find out.
Are you still, are massive escalation, is that still on the table?
Well, we have that, certainly that ability if we want to do that, yeah.
Here he is again with those same talking points. He summarizes the American non-strategy, the American hedge, the Trump administration's dilemma on Iran in this upcoming clip. Just listen and watch here.
I said, yeah, I don't talk about strategy. Why should I talk something? Maybe, but we have three powerful strategies. We could just keep it along, and they're going to fail. We could just keep, doing sort of just like nice and easy, relax. Like I said, I'm sort of negotiating. You see, they're very devious negotiators because they'll agree to something, then they'll go out and tell the press that they never did not do it. No, they're very dishonest people. So we have three strategies. Do what I'm doing now, just bop along and look how bad they're doing, because the nations, they've got 300% inflation. They have no value. Their currency has almost no value. They have they're not paying their soldiers. Their soldiers are leaving. So just keep that going, because that's not sustainable. Hit them really, really hard, or really, the third is just beat them economically, but we're doing that anyway. That's sort of a part of the first. So economically, they are a mess. They can't borrow money. We control their money, what they had, which is a lot. They had a lot, and we have total control of it. I'm their banker. I am their banker.
I'm going to keep this episode short today. He says that Iranians are devious negotiators. So wait, like Iranians are devious negotiators? Twice in the period of like 8 months, in June of 2025 and in February of 2026, Donald Trump bombed Iran in the middle of negotiations. I mean, if there's any more devious negotiator than that, I don't know what is. I mean, the Iranians say that they were negotiating in good faith. On February 27th, there was a deal on the table that the Omani and British diplomats that were involved in the talks said was even better than the JCPOA. And Donald Trump, instead of taking that deal, trying to cash in his chips and have some kind of diplomatic settlement with Iran, and maybe even tout it as better than what Barack Obama got in the nuclear deal of 2015, he decided to go with Benjamin Netanyahu. He decided to listen to the Mark Levins and the Ben Shapiros and all these dumb fucks, the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy, united against a nuclear Iran. And this is his fate now. Just hell. This is hell. Every day there's the same. Every week There's the same cycle, escalation, last minute pullout, more threats, less threats, moving the oil out and moving and getting the ships bombed, more countries getting involved, Yemen getting involved, Saudi Arabia getting involved, the oil prices staying high, gas prices going high, prospects for the midterms for the Republicans getting worse and worse and worse. And then the cycle over and over again, all at the same time, the bad media, the negative media, the Democrats are criticizing him, the Republicans are criticizing him, the neocons are criticizing him. Whatever he does, he gets hammered away at, and he gets completely criticized. And you know what? Every single group of his critics is correct, because he's in hell. He fell into this trap. He fell into this morass. And there's really no getting out of this quicksand. And Iran knows it. And that's the problem. Iran knows it. Iran knows that Donald Trump is fucked. They know that the United States is fucked. Iran wants to destroy Donald Trump. And Donald Trump gave them the rope from which he will hang. Thank you so much for listening in. I'm Borzou Daragahi. This is Badlands. You can subscribe at borzou.substack.com. I'm also available on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on YouTube.